just which druid is it? And yeah, the two that we would expect is the Pirates, is the Jade, and so both teams will be kind of happy with this. This is a close match, this one now.
Yeah, it is. It's not like Pirate Warrior just completely obliterates Jade Druid all of the time. You know, it's definitely not as simple as that. Jade Druid actually can have some reasonable outs now, especially with scales in the deck. You can actually, one, use it for positive trades with your smaller Jades early on, or you can gain the armor boost that keeps you alive in the late game.
Yeah, the point that Sottle made a couple of weeks ago, or last week, or sometime, I don't know.
A point that Sottle has made before
on this show sometimes is even just playing a scales on an auctioneer is sometimes enough to buy you the time, because the Pirates can't let that happen.
Well, they have to, because you can't stop it happening, but they do have to kill the auctioneer.
So they have to kill the auctioneer, so you gain 5 armor, I hate you so much, and you get 5 armor and 5 health from the auctioneer that has to be dealt with, unless you've got lethal, because otherwise the auctioneers are going to draw into feral rages and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So it heals you for 10, even if you're in trouble on that turn 6, turn 7, you can still get out of it just with that play. But this Pirate hand looks good, and this Druid hand, it does have Innovate.
It looks reasonable as well. There's Innovate, Jade Blossom, there's a Feral Rage for, I feel early on you Feral Rage for the emergency Frothing Berserker kill.
Right.
Because although it feels bad to not gain 8 armor, it feels worse to leave a Frothing Berserker on the board that you cannot deal with.
Right.
So a lot of the time you do want to snipe the Frothing with that. And then the Jade Behemoth is one of the bigger speed bumps that you can give to the Pirate Warrior to say, well, this is just an awkward shape, 6 health, it's kind of hard to deal with. The 3 attack on the Behemoth actually deals with most Pirate minions anyway, so it's a really good shape there, and if there's any Jades earlier on that help with that, then the Jade it creates is going to start pushing.
Life Coach was one of the best Druid players in the old 14 meta.
Yeah, that old
back in the day. Life Coach was one of the few people who could actually eke out a really good win percentage in the mirror back in that meta.
Yeah, we see no surprise at all. When you put Life Coach in a match of Hearthstone, he's probably going to use the rope a little bit.
So
when you had 3 other people talking to him about plays as well, that rope's getting burnt a lot. I feel bad for the rope at this point.
I feel bad for the 3 people.
That's true.
I wonder how much he actually hears of what the other people are saying in his team, because he's so analytical. He probably just throws stuff out there and tells them to tell him to change lines when he's going down a bad path.
Yeah, Life Coach has done some long and hefty streaming sessions,
right.
And a lot of that is just based off sitting there, staring at a hand, saying, okay, this does this, then this will mean this, then this will mean this, you know, like 5-6 turns down the line.
It's fantastic to watch.
And then he'll screenshot the turn, go back to it after the game, regardless of the choice he made, and work out whether a different choice would have ended up being better.
Right, and
the heavy analysis
for
is
10
incredible.
minutes. Yeah. And he can find analysis where a lot of people can't even find there's a thing to talk about, and I used to love watching those, and still do when he does it.
Whereas Boy and Team Croatia just getting off to that not crazy start, but a reasonable, you know, Nazos first mate is just okay, good start.
Right.
It's not absolutely nuts. There's nothing too crazy going to come out.
Next turn might be.
Yeah, not turn 1, but turn 2 when you can start adding in Fiery War Axe. There's the South Sea Captain is absolutely insane. Even just the Raider getting down for the extra damage. You really got the options here for the Pirate Warrior to start going off and asking Life Coach and Team Germany, like, you need to answer this board because it's going wide very quickly. The zoo approach that Pirate Warriors kind of gain now is even better versus Druid.
Right. And this is interesting with Germany, that it's looking good for them to ramp and then ramp again. But you don't want to play the Jade Behemoth too early, oddly enough, in this matchup. You kind of want to hold on to it until the Arcanite Reaper turns. Even if you get the ramp going early, you'd much rather have an Ire first, develop some sort of board, and then go, here's some taunt. Your 5 attack weapon into my 6 health minion. That's such a problem for Warrior. So he may just be necessity to play it. But
I was going to say, in the world you live in, Lorinda, when you can happily drop an Ire on turn 6 against Pirate Warrior, I want to play some of those games because I'm always forced to play a Behemoth on 6 because you're just under so much pressure.
I'll swap it for your mage games any day of the week. Okay, the captain is played out here. Nod to the fact that actually when this War Axe is played shortly, the Corsair and the Bloodsail Raider are both going to get tremendous value.
Oh, that Wrath is huge. I was just about to say that this is awkward because a captain is one of the strongest cards in the deck, actually. When the captain sticks, games normally end very quickly in the favor of the Pirate Warrior. The Wrath here could have or can be used to kill the captain because if you had to Feral Rage into the 3/3, it means that you can't Feral Rage the potential Frothing next turn, and then you're just in trouble.
And this play is a nod to the fact that you don't need to play Behemoth too early. If you can get away with it, then next turn you just develop a little bit more, and then, okay, then if you've had 2 more draws and haven't drawn another Jade, yeah, sure, you have to play it, I confess.
Feral Rage is looking nice and flexible now, though. Now that you've got past the emergency, uh-oh, I'm going to die on turn 4 turn, then this, the game's going just slow enough to mean Feral Rage could be used for Armageddon.
I wonder if that was a mistake, though. I'm not actually sure. There was a glance from the teammate there when you can play N'Zoth's first mate first and just get it on the board here. Because with this upgrade, you're almost never going to get to the point where that N'Zoth first mate can now be played.
Yeah, but if you played the N'Zoth's first mate, it means that you weren't equipping, you couldn't play... Well,
yeah,
instead of just not equipping the War Axe.
Yeah, it was awkward. It was really awkward.
You do want the Corsair down.
Yeah, I guess you had to do it.
Yeah, because if you played N'Zoth's first mate, you're playing a 1-1, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, you can play the Bloodstone
and that would
Raider,
only been a 3-3, and it would have been awkward.
Also, you get even more wrecked by swipe because you don't have the War Axe equipped. Obviously, this board dies to swipe as well, but at least you have War Axe equipped. Next turn, you can upgrade, go into a huge Bloodstone Raider.
Yeah, just an awkward-looking turn. Here we go. This is the turn where things get messy, but the next 2 turns are kind of unmessy.
Yeah. This is why the matchup isn't that bad. You think Jade Druid slow deck beats out control. It must die to Pirate Warrior. A lot of the time, yeah, sure it does.
It's been known.
But you do have very, very, a decent amount of turns where you can actually just build up. You can take a turn or a rough turn or 2 to ramp, and then your turns become so powerful with the likes of Behemoth, with the likes of Primordial Drake. A lot of the time, the Warrior just can't get through those.
I mean, even here, if you didn't have the Behemoth, you just drew an Earthen Scales. That's the 3 armor you might need to get into your Drake, and like you say, the Drake's just hard to get through. This particular draw, because the Berserker you were talking about hasn't shown his face, this is looking at the moment like it's just going to be Behemoth, Drake, gain 8 armor.
Done.
What are you doing about this? Yeah.
Especially because then almost every single draw after turn 8 is fine for the Druid. There's very few, like, the other Innovate is a bit of a whiff.
Right.
Other than that, though, you've still got Nourishes, you've still got Gadget Zans, you've still got more Jade Generation, you've still got Feral Rage, Scales, all your draws are actually very, very good versus Pirate Warrior late game.
Yeah, most decks don't want to draw their 1-drop on turn 9, and nor does Jade Druid, but if it does, it's a 4-4.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's not a 1-1 anymore.
It really isn't too terrible. Or draw it on turn 7 when you've got a 6-drop to combo it with.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's things to discuss here, like, are we in deep, deep trouble? The answer's probably no, and you play the Jade on the Behemoth, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the Behemoth soaks 6, so Feral Rage... Like, if that Jade on board was a 3-3, there's a question whether you Feral Rage, kill the 3-3, trade the 3-3 into the Raider, the 6-3. But because you can't, this is just a turn every single day of the week. And then look, you're actually pretty much just out-controlling the board versus the Pirate Warrior, and you've got a Drake follow-up.
Yeah, from the Pirate side, this is nowhere near over. They're looking at that 17 health and the fact that, although maybe they haven't got a Primordial Drake, how do we force through quite a bit of damage now?
Well, bear in mind as well, they've just drawn Upgrade. That's a 3 durability Arcanite Reaper, effectively. And with the patches, they can trade into this taunt very easily. Push an additional 6, push an additional 9. You don't really trade with the Jades here.
Yeah, you don't ever trade, and this isn't a stabilization. This is good. This is definitely good for the Druid, but it's not quite over.
Yes, it's not quite over. Drake into Feral Rage might be too much to handle here, because you can trade the 2-2 into the Corsair. Drake, the 3-1 that's left, goes into the Raider to finish it off. Then you end up with a 4-2 and a 4-8 taunt, followed by another 2 damage board AoE and another 4-8 taunt. That's actually incredible here.
You said a lot of numbers there, and they all sounded big. That's as far as I got with that one.
Yep.
The only thing you have to think about is you are on low health. You're a little tiny bit worried about Mortal Strike. As you can see there, Life Coach terrified of the situation, in fact.
Yeah, he is having a rough time with his Pirate Warrior, as you can see. Although that is a joke, of course. He's looking extremely happy. Life Coach on his travels, playing from a hotel room. But yeah, he's having a good time on comms with the rest of Team Germany.
I know everybody likes winning, but I think Life Coach likes winning more than most people in terms of how much he actually finds it funny.
I think especially when the matchup isn't a straightforward one. You know, you could easily just die in this matchup, like, because that's just the nature of the power of Pirate Warrior. But when you're winning against a deck like this, you're like, okay. Oh, we can even do them both.
He can, and
there's no need to, though, right?
Just trying to work out if you want to replace your 4-1 with a 4-8 and effectively give up on your other Drake. 4-1's kind of annoying, though, because, as has been said many times in casts, pirates do their damages in lumps. So even a 4-1 taunt, actually, it lacks like a 4-5 taunt.
It's a pain, yeah, 100%. It's very similar to the way the bile fins are used in Quest Warrior against pirates. It's like, oh, it creates a 1-1 taunt outside of a hook, whereas if they've got a hook equipped, you're probably just happy. And patches and the Zos first mate, that is it, pretty much in the whole deck that just deals the 1 damage. I love this play because, as you said, 4-1, pretty safe. 4-8, even safer. You don't even need the Innovate because there's no chance of double Mortal Strike this turn.
Yeah, you keep the Innovate in case you draw Auction near.
Exactly.
Is there no chance of double Mortal Strike? That N'Zoth's first mate's been in hand a long time.
Double Mortal Strike on 7 mana?
Oh.
There's probably a small chance.
In Warrior.
Ah, okay. There's probably a very, very limited chance that there's double Mortal Strike this turn. But this is what makes the turn so good, right?
Right.
You save Innovate, you cannot die this turn. And then you Feral Rage, and then you're just not dead, right?
Yeah.
The Warrior has to do so much work, even with a 5-3 weapon we saw a couple of turns ago, now 5-1. It's just not going to get through 2 Drakes.
Right, the way you lose this, I mean, you don't lose this, but the way you would lose if you did would be to Cultist into Leroy, into Mortal Strike, or double Mortal Strike, and that Innovate just guarantees if you do somehow have to play 3 more turns of Hearthstone here, that Gadget Sands are now another thing to help you.
Also, as well, just Nourish draw. Into another Feral Rage, double Feral Rage with the Innovate after a Nourish. You know, like stuff like that can just do silly things.
And don't forget there's double Earthen Scale still hiding in this deck as well. There's just almost every card isn't out, apart from probably the other Jade Idol.
The only thing is, this is opening up if a potential, like, double trade away the board. Oh,
Never mind.
Never mind, yeah, swipe. Easy.
So the discussion here now is all about, do we take 1 extra damage, or do we kill them?
Yeah, you kill them, I think, because that is a lot of damage with Swipe into Feral Rage. Even the hero power in case you needed the extra damage. Not that you do, it's exactly lethal. Life Coach giggling to himself manically as they take a very good win against Pirate Warrior there. Germany going 1-0 versus Croatia. These teams are battling to affect...
Traveling their whole country to get into the same building. And it's good to see that. I mean, not only are they taking it seriously, but they're the ones who are trying to go to the next level. It's the camaraderie and everything as well. Oh my goodness, this is going to be try to beat you down versus try to beat the quest.
Yeah, and Grimscale Chum, a card that definitely, you know, dips in and out of these lists, I would say. The Murloc Paladin is almost a million different ways to build it with exactly which Murlocs you include. You saw the Tidecaller you and Falco were casting last series as well, so almost anything can jump in here. But the Chum is one of the more reliable ones at getting the more aggressive openings, which is exactly what you want to do versus Rogue.
I also don't mind this when your team is honestly the underdogs. Croatia here are definitely not as good as Germany. That is just fact, because Germany are amazing.
Yeah, based on past performance,
bringing
you can't
a deck
argue
that might be a little tiny bit more based on your opening hand. Say, hey, if I draw the Chum, we might beat anybody. Yeah. Go for it.
Well, it's similar to
level the playing field a bit.
Sometimes it's almost impossible to lose with Pirate Warrior, right? Because you just get the hyper. It's what aggro decks. If you get the perfect hyper aggressive opening, you almost always just win unless your opponent draws extremely well as well. Interesting to note as well. We talk about Croatia and the 0-2. They are 0-2 to Czech Republic and Ukraine.
Right.
2 monster teams in HGG. So it's not like they're losing to everyone or anyone here. They're losing to 2 of the best and strongest performing teams in HGG
so
I mean,
far. This group is absurd. You've got the Czech Republic and Ukraine that they've lost to. Then they've played Germany? It's not fair. It's just not fair.
Yeah, my first 3 matches against Ukraine, Czech Republic, and Germany.
And then there's the Philippines in the group as well, who in any other group would be really talking about, look, the Philippines should qualify. In this group, we're talking, well, Philippines might get out of this group.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Germany for a start. One of the Germany lost to Ukraine and Philippines, so they ain't messing about either.
If you put them in another group, you'd be like, oh, Philippines are fairly easy from here, because they're a really powerful team. So, yeah, Croatia definitely drew the short straw in this event, and let's see how they cope with it.
Yeah, and Croatia, dissecting this hand here from the Paladin is 2 Chums and a War Leader. That can lead to some pretty hefty openings, as the Valfen is just straightforward, drop it on 1, 3 health, very awkward to deal with. But now you can start to open some very, very high pressure scenarios here.
And the way they did it, they've chosen to make sure, unless they draw another Murloc, that the chum makes one of the chums will buff the War Leader by just getting that other Murloc out of their hand. So the War Leader is going to be very, very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Because Quest Rogue just doesn't play, most of them don't play Backstab, some do. Almost none of them play Eviscerate.
Yep. Well, interesting. We did just see Backstab to deal with the Valfin out from Camlin, and as you said, Backstab is a card that's been, slowly just teetering out of the Quest Rogue. I think it was one of the last spells to actually be removed. There's still a lot of debate on what minions you play, but the spells themselves are just getting cut down to like Prep, Shadow Step, Mimic Pod, and the Quest. That's like all you want to play. Everything else is vital to get that consistent Quest popping off.
And again, it is reminiscent of how Patron Warrior formed as a deck, where people went very slow with it, with Grom and stuff like that to start with. Then it got all in on, we are going to make Patrons. And then it slowly sort of got a little bit more control-y again, but nowhere near as much as it started.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this with the Rogue deck. It's gone to the all-in phase. Now people are going, oh, Tolvir Warden, actually, it's kind of good.
Tolvir Warden's one of the one cards we might not see in this list because it's the Tolvir list that's been played a lot doesn't run backstabs, but that card it solves some of the problems you have against aggressive decks. Imagine this, right? If you have Tolvir Warden, you've gone Elemental the previous turn, Tolvir, suddenly the Paladin's in a bit of more of a stutter a little bit because the Divine Shield's such a problem.
4/5 Cold Light Seer, because both of the chums weren't the chums for the War Leader at all.
There goes the Volcano. We played the beat. Mimic Pod, Balefin Tidehunter. It's going to be okay. Just soaking up attacks because Paladin doesn't really deal 1 damage. We can see a Consecrate is available, but the timing of this Consecrate is going to be key. And what's also key is, let's just point out, there is like no quest idea yet from
they
from
just haven't.
Camlin.
I mean, obviously the Mimic Pod kind of decides that a little bit, but this Bless Your King is just going to start hitting you in the face for 8.
Yeah. You just play the 3-mana Yeti onto the board that gets potentially buffed by other cards in the deck.
Right, and it's also mana efficient. I mean, there is the option to play the War Leader and then do other stuff, but just, okay.
Is there the consideration? You've already got a Yeti on the board, which you shouldn't have to a certain extent. Vanish is a card that would kind of mess you up.
Yeah.
Right? So Vanish is a consideration, especially against turn 5. Maybe not even this turn, but if you're going to put that much into one minion and then Vanish happens, you're like, oh, that was a waste. Especially with Germany going so slow. Oops. Okay. Well, I was saying Quest Rogue plays Crab a lot. When you Mimic Pod it, you're looking pretty good, especially against a more aggressive Murloc deck.
Yeah, it's not going to be an aggressive Murloc deck for long. These crabs are just going to take
I'm just
over.
going to cover Neil's eyes here as we continue watching.
Yeah, not
this
me.
angry
The,
crab.
the Murloc Neil that appeared on the desk.
Lil Neil. There you
Lil
go.
Neil.
Lil Neil the Murloc. He can't watch this part of the game because this is absolutely brutal. What does his hand look like? 2 Balefins are there, like next to the hungry crab that's left in hand, going, please don't eat me. Eat the enemies.
I mean, that is actually a thing, right? That's a very life coach thing to do. I know it's not the only people who play it, but to make sure that your cards have some synergy.
Oh yeah, there's got to be a storyline, some lore behind it.
Yeah, and just to make a bigger thing in the situations where you need some early.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually use the crab to eat a Bilefin, especially when you Mimic Pod them as well. But
it's unlikely. It's just a life coach thing to do, to have those tiny little details in the deck. That's probably why he likes this build.
And I genuinely think as well that the Bilefins aren't going to be bounced more than likely because of these hungry crabs in your against Paladin.
Right.
So you could just use them to eat them, right, in the bounces if you really wanted to, on the final one maybe, just to get a bit of a higher minion before you play the quest. But yeah, some of these tiny things might not happen in 50 games, right?
Right.
But the one game might be enough to actually get some work done.
Yep. Talking of getting work done, I'll tell you who's not going to get any work done today. That's Sunkeeper Tarim.
Yeah. I'll either buff your minions, or I'll make all your 5/5s 3/3s, but all the rest of the new cards that are going to be played are 5/5s, and 3/3s aren't that bad anyway.
Yeah.
One of the awkward things as well is, and that Tarim doesn't really play nice with Rogue, is that one of the strengths of Tarim is he makes the board 3/3s, but he has 7 health, right?
Right.
But Rogue has Hero Power, which is a dagger for 1.
Right.
So it's actually very easy to deal with this, and if you just wanted to see a crab hit the board, hit the hand, hit the board, hit the hand, hit the board.
Here it comes.
You're watching the right game.
Love
Nom, 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 nom.
Lavek's phase last turn was like, look, we know you're going to bounce the crab, but this is the only play we have. They're pretty much done.
The worst part is like, so can we take back the Vilefin battle cry and just get Silverhand recruits again? Because every time they press hero power, they're just making this worse.
Yeah.
And they know it was Mimic Pod as well, if they kept an eye on it, because the minion came out from hand after Mimic Pod, which means the next minion along has to be a Mimic Pod, right? There's no even question about it.
I'm not even sure if Germany need the quest. It's just gonna kill
just
you.
Win the game without playing the quest. That's a hard mode Hearthstone here.
Wow. Not far off it though.
Even bouncing the Biofin. Are they gonna do shadow steps on the Biofin? Surely not, right? Because there's hero power. If you shadow step the Murloc, are they just gonna push? So they can play Biofin, shadow step Biofin.
Yeah.
So now it doesn't really matter.
It makes more 5/5s.
That is true. That is true.
It's just a very life coach thing to do. I mean, and all of Germany and all of good Hearthstone players, but it's particularly a life coach thing to do, to be brutally efficient even when it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. And these are the so the Quest Rogue, very, very powerful. But a lot of the time, you either get smoked down or you whiff very, very hard.
Right.
But games like these are why people are terrified of this deck.
Right.
This is almost unlosable. There you go. Didn't even play the quest. He won the game without the quest.
And I think he would have actually just won it. If it doesn't matter who you're losing to, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah. And we are going into the game. Germany and Viper on the Mage and Insane on the Shaman. Already with Jade, Spirit, Volcano, and Thing from Below. This looks like it could be the Echo, the Spirit Echoes we've been seeing. Yep. These all look like, there we go. Great timing, Insane. I appreciate when my words are backed up by the players. Spirit Echo being drawn. Yeah, this is the list with the Jades. Potential Elementals as well, but mainly Hot Springs, Jinyus to get that high value late game play. Stonehills as well.
Yeah, and both of them rocking this new Legendary that we've not seen before. Actually, it's been around since the dawn of time, but Dark card we see a lot at the moment, Blood Mage Thanos, especially in Mage decks that aren't Freeze Mage because of Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah, I think the Blood Mage Thanos is just it's just a good card, right? 2 mana, 1/1, +1 spell damage. When it dies, it draws a card. It's a great card. Yep. I think it's very easy to just drop this kind of card into a deck, especially a spell-heavy deck, of course, like Shaman, like Mage, where you can say, I feel like I'm lacking a bit of card draw, and sometimes with the amount of spells you can get with cards like Glyph, it's just extra push, extra burst damage, and giving a very funny look to that spell. And last week, I cast a match with Falcon, I believe, which was a Discover Mage with Counterspell. Right. Because I think with Discover Mage, everyone is so set in Ice Barrier, Ice Block. They're the secrets. Unless something's glyphed or Cabal Couriered, then just playing a secret, they presume it's one or the other, and then they just play a spell without thinking. Boom. And imagine Spirit Echoes Counterspell. Huge. Sure. Yeah, I've been talking about this a little bit as well with. I think everybody went to Discover Mage, and a lot of you liked it and thought this is the best deck, and then people start saying, okay, let's make the best deck better because that's how evolution works in Hearthstone. People have been really messing around with Secret Mage, and it hasn't quite worked. And what Omega Zero has done recently in a tournament is sort of merged them. This isn't that build, but I think all of the players are saying, hey, we can find a build with different secrets because we can get them cheaply out of our deck. Why not mess around with them? And I think we're going to see builds somewhere between Secret Mage and Discover Mage that are actually a whole new thing. Yeah, I can completely see that because you look at cards like Cabal Courier, and they're kind of like janky and a bit slow. And sometimes, guess what? You don't discover a card that's any good for the matchup. Glyph's a little bit more flexible because it's not flexible, if that makes sense, because it's a mage spell. So it's very much more narrowed down as opposed to one priest card, a warlock card, a mage card. So it wouldn't surprise me at all where you see cards like Sorcerer's Apprentice, factually a strong card. It's just a good card, right? So you see cards like those, maybe Thanos slip back into the deck and just create a bit more flexibility as well. Thanos, for when hitting something for 15 with a spell, isn't quite enough. Exactly. Lots of just posturing going to go on here. This is where I feel that Germany will excel in a very, very slow-moving match, but it's a difficult one for them because of all the healing. Yeah, just thinking about this counterspell, I feel like it's actually really good versus Shaman. Yeah. What are you okay throwing away as a Shaman player? Yeah, it doesn't have many things, and it lets you do what they've done here. Just, here's my apprentice, go on, kill it, I dare you. But like you think that the deck's probably got Jade Lightning, Spirit Echoes, Maelstrom, Lightning Storm. Whenever you play a Maelstrom or Lightning Storm, it's because you're trying to clear a board because the board's beating you. You know, so
Right.
and then that stops. That doesn't happen. So then you're behind again. So this counterspell in this specific matchup, I think, is very strong. There you go.
Viper tries not to choke as he was sitting there sort of snickering to himself all the way through that.
Yeah, just gains like so much additional. Oh my god, look at this. Arcane Intellect can still equip the Ice Block as well because of this counterspell.
Yeah,
And now the problem is, so counterspell. Now they're like, okay, is this Secret Mage? So now they play Ice Block and they're like, oh no, what's the entity? You know, it raises the questions, and this is what, you know, just dropping in a few different secrets specifically, start to worry your opponent and say, well, now what do I do?
Right.
Is it another counterspell? Is it Spellbender? So for Jade Lightning, for example, can just hit the Spellbender, and then you're like, well, this apprentice is still alive.
And something we talked about 2 weeks ago is, I don't know how time works anymore. But
I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, if that helps.
so last week, it does
Okay,
help, is that the Discover stuff in this deck was like a toolbox to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Well, that means that there wasn't much natural synergy in the deck other than Alexstrasza and Get 'em.
Yeah.
That was kind of the only synergy.
Pretty much.
So you can afford to mess around with the cards. There wasn't some super synergy where if you take out one card, like take out a random card from Quest Rogue, like you take out Doomsayer, you have to change so many things to fill that hole. In this, you can just put in what you like, and people are starting to do that.
Yeah, so with Discover Mage in general, the idea is you can flex to whatever's going on, but you've got a lot of flex in the deck itself. So if you start to narrow those, so you know, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Counterspell, you can't deal with every single situation that comes up.
Right.
But the situations you do deal with are stronger. You know, like that's the trade-off, and we're starting to see that come out now. Finally, the Sorcerer's Apprentice bites the dust, but here's Medivh Valley to actually clear up some of this. Medivh Valley ping just feels fine. Just put another 2/3. They had to Jade Lightning a 3/2. So put a 2/3 onto the board, clear the board most importantly, and then you can build into Coin, Filens next turn.
And then in a few turns' time, this is going to start getting brutal because the Mage is getting to Alexstrasza levels. Meanwhile, the Jades are accumulating with the Spirit Echo on the other side. So whilst they're busy sort of posturing at the moment, in about 3 turns' time, this game is going to go nuts.
Yep. As always with Jades in a deck, someone wins very quickly, one way or the other.
Right,
You know,
yeah, when it gets
snowballs hard. Yeah. There's always a few turns where it's like, okay, bang, done. and again, against this deck as well, and I've seen this more often than not, Volcano against Discover Mage is mostly used to proc your own Spirit Echoes. It really is like
Yeah,
what,
for healing especially.
Yeah, exactly. And Jade Generation, it's just more value because what the Mage can do sometimes is just let the board be built up,
Right.
and just not interact with it. Just go face, right? Because then, well, Spirit Echoes all you want, but if your Hot Spring Guardians, if your Jinyus aren't dying, then they're not being bounced back to hand to use the healing again. So we'll see if that happens. Still very early on, and Viper just having a great time. He's more emotive in this one game of Hearthstone than I have ever seen him before.
Elise the Trailblazer. Yeah, and he really is having fun with this. And Life Coach was a minute ago as well. Seems like the German team are... But they seem to be also
In high
taking it
spirits.
incredibly seriously whilst having fun with it. I think that seems to be their coping with their situation.
This build, okay, I'm going to speak to Team Germany and find out what exactly this build looks like. Because to me, Sorcerer's Apprentice lends itself to a more aggressive list. And then Elise lends itself to a way more control-y list, right? Because a lot of the time, you don't even draw your deck.
Right.
So, are you ever going to draw that pack? You know what I mean? Obviously, if you draw it in a few turns when you run out of cards, fantastic. But that's a great scenario. A lot of the time, you don't even burn through your deck as this Mage list.
I guess what those two cards do is... So if you take out the Cabal Couriers, if they may still be in there for one. They could well be in there.
But if you do...
But if you do, you lose that thing that we talk about where they fill in those middle turns. So Sorcerer's Apprentice allows you to play your Firelands a turn earlier, and Elise is something to do on turn 5 that also fits in with how Germany like to play with the value and the ongoing, just grinding people
Live
to
Coach
death.
likes his value, and I think, don't quote me, but Elise is one of his favorite cards from the expansion. 1, cards are just good, right?
Right.
2, he loves the animation and the pack opening. He loves
That's the
the
most
slicing
important
through the
thing.
jungle and he loves the pack. I've watched him get excited
It
about
is a
this
really,
multiple
really good
times.
animation. It really is one of the best. This looks like a good polymorph target.
I would have to agree there with you. The only... Yeah, you have to, actually. Because I was going to say, it's always nice to polymorph as Spirit Echoes.
Yeah.
But if you're even thinking about Spirit Echoes can come on high next turn and trade. So you have to deal with it, and you don't want the Jade generation. So polymorph feels good. Maybe even, hang on. Oh, a little bit short. I was wondering whether there's like polymorph, volcanic potion, Medu's Valley. Because there's the coin, but it's actually...
I mean, you don't even need the potion, right? You just polymorph the Aya, shoot down the 2-2 with the Valet, trade into the 3-4. If you want to kill the 1-1, you can coin it if you feel like you need to.
That's true, yeah. You could go that way. Always like a clean, clear board. They're in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is also just very good. You leave a 1-1 on the board, and you're not really afraid. Elise already gained amazing value.
Right.
It's put the pack in the deck. It's already traded with a minion, a bit of a tricky minion, Jinyu as well. Because if that gets Spirit Echoed, suddenly you're like, oh, so if I Alex, there's at least Jinyu available.
And this is the downside of the Spirit Echo. The upside is that it's fantastic and that it's usually very, very easy to get around the downside. The downside being you actually have to have minions that are worth Spirit Echoing on the board. And if you've got Spirit Echo in your hand, that's one card in your hand that isn't a minion.
Yeah. So Spirit Echoing the sheep is not a good play. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad I understood. Yeah, I'm joking around. Of course, it takes up a slot in your hand, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of awkward. But we have seen the extremes of Spirit Echo. You know what it reminds me of? It's like Bloodlust, right? Like in terms of when Bloodlust's in your hand, it's not minions. So then if you don't have a board, Bloodlust is terrible. If you don't have a board, Spirit Echoes is terrible. But when it's good, it wins games.
Yeah, you really want to play 2 Bloodlust, and you almost never do because you sit there with 2 Bloodlusts in your hand going, I wish this was a minion.
Exactly.
Okay, so value coming from both sides here. Obviously, Insane has managed to set up a situation where... You were talking about this yesterday. This is just an annoying minion, but Volcanic Potion seems kind of good right now.
Yeah.
But Life Coach... I keep mentioning Life Coach here because this is such a Life Coach sort of series.
And also, Life
wasting
Coach
mana.
played a bajillion mage games. Life Coach actually pioneered one of the Reno mages of the last meta, right? He started off with that. So very much his style of deck, this.
And he hates wasting mana. It's, obviously we all hate wasting mana. We all like to play on curve. But even in these situations where everyone else would have just gone Volcanic Potion, ping, play Mana Worm.
Well, what I was thinking about, you won't be too surprised, is if you just coin Alex Straza, go. You have 2 Filans. He's got no minions on board. He has minions technically on board.
Here we go.
Yeah, I like it. He's got 2 1/1s and a Manatide on board. So at worst, Hex is 3 mana.
Yep.
And they're only on 7.
Yep.
What are they going to do with 4 mana that bothers you? And then you can just, Mana Worm, Filans. You've got 2 turns then to draw Fireballs, Frostbolts, Glyphs. That's a lot of pressure.
Really
and
is.
An absolute immense amount of pressure, actually.
It all depends how much healing they can get through. They've already got rid of 1 Jinyu, which was a worry. Did they get rid of anything else? That was it.
No,
just
1 Jinyu. There's still probably 2 Hot Springs and 1 Jinyu at least.
And possibly, occasionally, a Kalimos with very few activators.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I think what I've seen is actually just Fireflies, which we've not even seen.
Yeah.
So maybe not. Fireflies, Hot Springs,
and
Kalimos.
that's it.
You just always hold the Flame Elemental in hand until you have Kalimos. So there's the Hex. The 4 mana is going to be good enough to get this thing from below because the game's been so slow.
Right.
Yesterday, me and Falco were casting a match where it was turn, I think, 8 or 9, and the thing from below was 3 mana still, which was actually a bit of a problem.
These Jades aren't getting that menacing yet either. Oh, I can see a really good play.
Is it Mana Worm Ping Face?
Yes.
I thought so.
I would do
We're on the
this.
same wavelength. Yeah.
As always.
Although I said about going aggressive, this is just a high value play.
Yeah.
Flame Strike again. Enjoy your Spirit Echoes, guys. You've got nothing on the board.
Hot Spring Guardian with Spirit Echo in hand and also with the Jade Spirit. That's almost as good a turn as you can get in this situation. It's not a game-busting turn, but it's certainly a turn that Germany would not.
And we're going to see Spirit Echoes here, right?
Yeah.
I think we have to. And the benefit or what's reasonable here for Team Germany with this instance, because this is kind of annoying, right?
Right.
This is a problem, is that Violence Portal generates a minion as well.
Yes.
If the hand was Fireball, Frostbolt, Frostbolt, you'd be like, oh, this is actually kind of awkward if he starts healing. But the Violence Portal means that you can still push whilst putting pressure on board with minions as well.
Yeah, and the pressure on the board, obviously, not really going at phase. It's just aimed at tidying up this stuff so that your burn can continue to,
It's just
whack phase.
not falling behind is the key one. And we'll see what's the minion. Doppelgang.
Again, that was happening in the last set with myself and Falcone.
Awkward. Lightning Storm, I mean, clears the board, but you kind of want to trade your minions off.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you even bump in with the Hot Spring first before Lightning Storm, and then you might as well just not bother.
Or do you even Lightning Storm?
Right.
You could develop the Chieftain.
4-7.
Because you want the Jade Spirit and the Jade to die, right?
I just wanted just a Volcano, it kills everything. There's exactly 15 health on the board.
And then replay the Spirit.
Yeah.
Volcano's really good later, though. Medivh coming out. Volcano can actually deal with a lot of these minions. Gonna go for
Devolve the buff your opponent's minions so your thing can die. Why not?
that shifting shade. I mean, Viper is loving this shade. He is like, yeah, thank you. Give me an extra card. That's actually nuts. That shade is very good here.
It really is.
More and more options. It does mean the Jade Spirit can be traded, though.
Oh!
Spirit Echo.
It's not even that great, but it's kind of ironic.
If Medivh sticks, you can play 2 Medivhs in the game.
Viper is having a lot of fun with this game. But now the pressure's just starting to get real. It needs to, because look at the hand. There's so much damage there.
I don't know how to deal with that noise you just made, Lorinda.
Don't deal with it. Just
Okay.
let it take you.
I hoped you'd say that, because that's what I'm going to do. So now, Buzzard, another incredibly powerful minion from Violence Portal.
Violence Portal
can
feels like it's been
echo
slightly nerfed in
And then
time.
play a 0 mana 1/1.
Have lethal next turn.
Yep.
Just
And
in case you think we're not watching.
And there's no heal available.
No heal available.
And this was the benefit.
They played an elemental last turn, right?
Yes, they did.
There might be a Calamus.
Nope. And
That
that was that.
mana cost.
Yeah, so again, because, I mean, obviously the draws weren't there anyway, but because Insane and Team Croatia had to deal with the board from Violence, it created just issue after issue, right? Especially with the Mana Worm, so that they were just slower. They're not even close to pressuring lethal for Viper. Not even close.
Yeah, I mean, 25.
Exactly, and that's why I really like the Alexstrasza turn, because they were overloaded, and they have to hex. If they don't hex, you're like, well, do what you want then, because I've got an 8/8, so great. All this without Medivh.
Yeah, and obviously Croatia here are going through the motions because they can't see what we can see, but they will strongly
you play it
suspect.
out, yeah.
Yeah, without Medivh, without Kabalkoria, without Glyph.
Yeah. Imagine if they had Glyph, the game would have been over 6 turns ago.
Wow. I can't even stare him down and say without Glyph without getting a comeback. But Insane is going to get the bad news that he has lost in any second now, unfortunately. And a lot of it came from counterspell on turn 2.
Yep.
Or turn 3, defending the Apprentice, where he's just got a little tiny bit of tempo boost at the start, allowed to keep the totems under control.
And the Apprentice didn't do anything. I think the big turn was the Arcane Intellect and Ice Block from the Apprentice. That was huge, and the counterspell managed to defend it long enough to make that happen. Germany 3-0 versus Croatia. Croatia looking very grim indeed now, 0-3 in their group. But Germany fighting back. This is what we expected to see.